I could come.
Indeed, very beautiful. I think we're live now. So let's start, Professor. I will start by talking to the audience in Portuguese, and after that, I'll introduce you. Right? Boa noite a todos, a todas. Sou Anderson Lucarese, leciono, escrevo, traduzo, pesquiso e sou apoiador das iniciativas da Associação Nacional para a Inclusão das Pessoas Autistas. Teremos agora um dos momentos mais esperados deste simpósio, a participação do professor Lawrence Fung, da Universidade de Stanford. O Dr. Lawrence Fung é professor assistente no Departamento de Psiquiatria e Ciências Comportamentais da Universidade de Stanford. Ele é o diretor do Projeto de Neurodiversidade de Stanford, diretor da Clínica de Neurodiversidade e investigador principal do Fung Lab. Seu trabalho, que se concentra em autismo e neurodiversidade, abrange desde estudos de neuroimagem multimodal até novas conceituações de neurodiversidade e sua aplicação em ambientes clínicos, educacionais e profissionais. Seu laboratório se dedica à compreensão das bases neurais, das funções sociocomunicativas e cognitivas, utilizando novas tecnologias de neuroimagem e bioanálise. Usando uma abordagem de pesquisa participativa baseada na comunidade, sua equipe elabora e implementa intervenções inovadoras para melhorar a vida de indivíduos neurodiversos, maximizando o seu potencial e produtividade. Seu trabalho tem sido apoiado por várias agências, incluindo os Institutos Nacionais de Saúde, Autism Speaks, Departamento de Serviços de Desenvolvimento da Califórnia, Departamento de Reabilitação da Califórnia, bem como por iniciativas filantrópicas. O professor Fung obteve seu PhD em Engenharia Química pela Universidade Cornell e o Master's Degree pela Universidade George Washington. Professor Fung, thank you very much for our invitation to participate in this event, which for sure will be enriched by your words. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Anderson, for the kind introduction. And thank you, Kiharmi, for the invitation. I'm going to start presenting. Let's see. Can you see the slides okay? I cannot. Can Anderson tell me if you can see the slides? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and present. Thank you again, and I am presenting from California. I wish I can come to Brazil. It's such a beautiful place that I hope I get a chance to visit next time around. Today, I will be talking about the Stanford Neurodiversity Project, community-based participatory approach. I will first talk about the basics of neurodiversity and how we conceptualize the strength-based model of neurodiversity, and then tell you about our Stanford Neurodiversity Project and how we use this community-based participatory research approach in our work. Now, what is neurodiversity? Neurodiversity is a concept that regards individuals with differences in brain function and behavioral traits as part of normal variation in the human population. When we talk about neurodiverse conditions, we oftentimes talk about autism, ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and many other conditions such as dyslexia, tic disorder, as well as other genetic disorders, and also neurologic conditions such as epilepsy, psychiatric conditions such as bipolar disorder. So it is very wide range of conditions. If we look at only a few of the most common neurodiverse conditions, you can see that they have a very high prevalence rates. Autism has about 2.3% prevalence in the United States. Dyslexia is much higher, 13 to 14%. ADHD is somewhere in between, 5 to 7%. And when we are thinking about the human abilities and human traits, oftentimes we think about a bell-shaped curve, which is basically a distribution of how many people are considered to be in the average area. Well, usually 68% or so are considered to be average under the bell-shaped curve. On the right-hand side will be considered to be above average. On the left-hand side will be below average. And as an example, IQ is a very common way of assessing human abilities. It is very limiting, and I'll tell you why I say so in a little bit. Here, IQ of 85 to 115 will be considered to be average IQ. Someone that has an IQ of 130 will be considered to be very smart. 145 and up will be at the genius level. Below 70 will be considered to have intellectual disability. And I say that this is rather limiting because it only tells us about the abilities in the visual spatial domain, verbal linguistics domain, and logical mathematical domain. It doesn't really tell us anything else about other human abilities. Howard Gardner at Harvard University have been spearheading this theory of multiple intelligences to include not only these three domains of human abilities. He also included musical rhythmic, bodily kinesthetic or athletic, naturalistic abilities. Interpersonal abilities would be the abilities to relate with other people. Intrapersonal abilities will be ability to understand self, and existential ability is to understand your own existence, the universe's existence, etc. To give you an example of how we conceptualize multiple intelligence, we go to someone that we all know, Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein has a multiple intelligence profiles such as this. Musical rhythmic will be almost above average. He played the violin. Visual spatial at the genius level. Verbal linguistic, not so high. He actually did not speak until 4 years old. Logical mathematical, he would be standing on an island on his own. Naturalistic, average. Intrapersonal and interpersonal, actually, he struggled quite a bit. Bodily kinesthetic, average. He at least ride a bicycle on time. So when we are looking at the genius of the genius, what we can see is that he is not superior in all different domains of abilities. He is very good in some, but struggle in others. But we don't really care about talking about his struggles so much. He really changed the world for the good. So we remember him as someone that's really contributing to the world. And many others are like Einstein, in that they really changed the world for the good because of their passion about a particular topic. So here are many people that have been very successful in the sciences, like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein. This is Alan Turing, Nikola Tesla. This is the guy that owns the company Tesla now, Elon Musk. This is mathematician Julia Bowman Robertson, Sophie Germain, and Paul Erdos. They are all mathematicians. And here's Benjamin Banneker, the first African American scientist. This is philosopher Immanuel Kant. This is the father of evolution, Charles Darwin. This is Barbara McClintock, who won Nobel Prize in the genetics work she did. This is Diane Fossey, who taught us everything about gorillas. This is Temple Grandin, arguably the most famous autistic person on earth. This is Greta Thunberg, an internationally known environmental activist. And then we have some artists. Michelangelo, this is Andy Warhol, the father of pop art. This is Wassily Kandinsky, a painter. Pierre Mondrian, another painter. This is Joseph Corral. Stephen Wilshire, who also has a diagnosis of autism. He can ride a helicopter up the sky for about 15 minutes, memorize the entire city's appearance, and then draw the city in detail in front of tens of thousands of people. A really amazing ability. Here are some musicians: Amadeus Mozart, Glenn Gould, and some writers: Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. Here's a poet, Hans Christian Andersen. This is Freddie Jelinek, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2004. She is also one of the first 4 patients that Hans Asperger described in 1944. Here are some entertainers: Andy Kaufman, Dan Aykroyd, there's Susan Boyle, Daryl Hannah, and some other people in the entertainment industry. Tim Burton, who is a film director and a writer for many movies like Edward Scissorhands, etc. Jim Henson. Jim Henson created a lot of different animation movies. This is Satoshi Tajiri, who is the creator of the Pokemon. And this is Michael Burry, American investor and neurologist. So again, one thing in common among all of them is they're all very passionate about what they are doing. And they are all very much having the traits of autism. Some of them have the actual diagnosis of autism. In this slide, I'm showing you the people that have ADHD. This is Alexander Bell, who invented the telephone. This is Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb and many other inventions. This is President John F. Kennedy. This is Richard Branson, who is the CEO and founder of Virgin Group. This is Michael Phelps, who won more Olympic gold medals than anyone. This is Simone Biles, another Olympic gold medalist in gymnastics. And then some entertainers and journalists in the United States. And one thing that many of them said is that if they do not have ADHD, they are not going to be as successful as they are. And then we have some more here that are famous people that have dyslexia. This is George Washington. This is painter Pablo Picasso. This is Charles Schwab, and a famous investor. This is Dr. Carol Greider, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering the enzyme telomerase. This is Dr. Stuart Udovsky, a famous psychiatrist and also chairman of the psychiatry department in Baylor College of Medicine. This is Dr. Toby Cosgrove, the president and CEO of the Cleveland Clinic. And then we have Sir Jackie Stewart. This is Anderson Cooper and Jay Lano, Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, and Cher. And one thing that is especially remarkable, I think, for the people that need to read a lot, for example, the Nobel Prize winner here and the physicians, thinking about dyslexic people have a very challenging time to read a lot. And these people basically make their challenges their strengths. So neurodiversity can be considered as a competitive advantage. I'm going to tell you also that there is a concept of trying to understand a neurodiverse condition as both challenges and strengths. And in particular, I will bring up autism and ADHD. So for people with ADHD, people with diagnosis of autism, a lot of the time when they are doing things over and over again and it's not getting anywhere, then you call it perseveration. But when the results are good, you're going to call it persistence or perseverance. Seeing big picture is not their natural tendency. They don't go to the big picture first, they go to the details first. However, if you have some tasks that will require the details, like debugging a program, finding the detail is more important. And so this trait is a strength instead of a challenge. Sometimes the autistic individuals have fewer interests, but at the same time, when they're interested in something, they would get to know everything about that topic. Perspective taking is sometimes different for them. At the same time, they are very concrete and honest. Social interactions may not be the same as the neurotypical people, but at the same time, they can be the most loyal people that you can ever have as a friend. So you can see one list of characteristics of autism that can be strengths and challenges at the same time. What can make it strengths most of the time is due to the environment. When people in the environment are understanding autistic individuals, they are going to be able to embrace their strengths, and autistic people will have more opportunities. Similarly, for people with ADHD, impulsivity will come with rapid decision making. Hyperactivity will come with high energy. Difficulty focusing on tasks that they are not interested in will come with hyper-focus on tasks that interest them. Distractibility will come with creativity. And in fact, creativity of ADHD is the most talked about trait in ADHD. And together with other traits such as resilience, multitasking, big picture thinking, and cooling a crisis. So you must be thinking that this is really about the traits of a CEO. And indeed, there are people that are CEOs such as Richard Branson who have ADHD. So the next part, I'm going to be talking about the strength-based model of neurodiversity. Unlike the disability model, the disability model is really about the diagnosis. The strength-based model is about what the person can do. And there are many things, as you can see, that a neurodiverse individual can do. And in order to conceptualize the strength-based model a little bit in more detail, I will be talking about positive psychology, a little bit about positive psychiatry, the Gano's theory of multiple intelligences, and the Chickering 7 vectors of development. We would like to consider neurodiverse conditions as conditions rather than disorder, and also acknowledge challenges instead of deficits. Because if we are using these terms disorder or deficit, it's going to be very difficult to flip this challenges into strengths. Remember this slide that we can have strengths and challenges at the same time. The only way that we can embrace the strengths is to really understand that these challenges are not really deficits. They just happen to be something that someone can struggle at some point in life. And we also want to apply the strength-based approach across the entire spectrum of neurodiverse conditions. The first component of the strength-based model is positive psychology, which is founded by Martin Seligman and Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And they define the core of positive psychology as well-being, contentment, satisfaction. Flow is basically immersing oneself in an activity and get satisfaction and happiness out of it, as well as hope and optimism. And there are many definitions of positive psychology in the last 20-some years, and these three come up top. And if you are to focus on three words, it's really about strengths, about fulfillment, and also about growth. The second component of the strength-based model is positive psychiatry. So in this table, I will contrast with traditional psychiatry. Positive psychiatry is about positive attributes and strengths, as well as protective factors and neuroplasticity, instead of the pathology, what's wrong, and also the risk factors. In traditional psychiatry, treatments are primarily for symptom relief by medications and short-term psychotherapies. In positive psychiatry, we want to increase well-being and growth by psychoeducational interventions that can enhance positive attributes, and this can last for a lifetime. And this kind of preventative approach is largely ignored in traditional psychiatry. I'm not saying that traditional psychiatry is not important. It is very important, especially when someone is having a lot of challenges and even symptoms. However, if we are able to focus more on positive psychiatry, we are going to be able to increase the well-being of people, and hence they will have less symptoms that would need traditional psychiatric approaches. We have talked about the third component of strength-based model, which is the theory of multiple intelligence. And now the last component is Chickering 7 vectors of development. These are basically the developmental tasks that adolescents and adults or young adults have to achieve in order to become a full adult. So they include developing competence, managing emotions, moving through autonomy toward interdependence, developing mature interpersonal relationships, establishing identity, developing purpose, and developing integrity. And when we are looking at these 7 vectors, we ask 3 questions. One question is, how can we help neurodiverse people to achieve these developmental tasks? And then the second question is, what about the people around them? The professors, the teachers, as well as the employers. And the third question is, what about the mental health providers? What can we do in order to help neurodiverse individuals to achieve these developmental milestones? So we have now the strength-based model of neurodiversity, and we basically implement this model through the Stanford Neurodiversity Project. The Stanford Neurodiversity Project is a special initiative of the psychiatry department at Stanford University. If you are interested in learning more about our project, please scan this QR code, and you can get to our website and learn more about our project. I'll describe a little bit more to you in the next few slides. The first objective of this project is the most important. It's about establishing a culture that treasures the strengths of neurodiverse individuals. If we do it right, then we'll be able to empower neurodiverse individuals to build their identity, and also build their identity based on their strengths and interests, and enhance their long-term skills of daily living throughout their lifespan. We want to attract talented neurodiverse individuals to study in our institution, as well as other partnering organizations. We want to train people that are going to be working with neurodiverse individuals and disseminate the model as widely as possible. And ultimately, we want to maximize the potential of neurodiversity, not only for neurodiverse individuals, but for everyone in the society, because there's so much neurodiverse individuals can contribute to the society. The last almost 6 years, we have been working on the Stanford Neurodiversity Project, and we have faculty members and students as well as staff members that are working on it. And I just want to acknowledge them here. And this is another list of the alumni that we have. And basically, in the on one hand, we are very person-centered. We focus on a neurodiverse individual, but we are also using an ecosystem-driven approach. Every neurodiverse individual have family and friends. They have mentors, therapists, and in the education setting, the teachers, coaches, classmates, roommates that can make the immediate environment more neurodiversity friendly, as well as the school officials and the school community that can change the culture in the larger environment. We also similarly have the employment setting that have supervisors, job coaches, colleagues that can make the immediate environment more neurodiversity friendly, as well as the executives and work community and other supporting communities that can collectively make the work environment more neurodiversity friendly. We have three major initiatives: neurodiversity awareness and education, neurodiversity at work and wellness, and neurodiversity independent living skills initiative. The neurodiversity awareness initiative is really all about engagement. We want to engage with the neurodiverse community as well as the society as a whole, and spread the awareness about neurodiversity. And in the Neurodiversity at Work and Wellness initiative, we create opportunities for neurodiverse individuals in the employment setting. The third initiative is about independent living skills, and this is something that we embed in many other programs in terms of how we help neurodiverse individuals to increase their well-being overall. Since we are in an academic institution, we care about many different things. One is the most important piece is about community commitment and engagement. The second is about clinical innovation and service. The third is about educational excellence. The fourth is advancing science. And the fifth is about leadership. And basically, community commitment and engagement is the first step for community-based participatory research or approach. We believe that if we work together as a community, we help each other. So this is the gist of the approach, which is called CBPR, Community-Based Participatory Research. And this is basically a collaborative approach to research that equitably involved all partners in the research process and recognizes the unique strengths that each brings. It also begins with a research topic of importance to the community and has the aim of combining the knowledge with action and achieving social change. In contrast to traditional research approach, CBPR is hypothesis generating. It gives us critical insight from the affected populations, the neurodiverse individuals in this case. We also emphasized that the research focus and approach has to be mutually agreed upon, and the community context is basically the most important. In contrast to the traditional research approach, which is hypothesis testing, usually the researcher already knows what they want to prove, and they want to use a positive and deductive approach. And the researcher has always been very much unbiased, but they also stay outside of the community. And they establish such lab setting that will make research more doable, but it is also less involving the important aspects that the community can bring. So that's why our group has been doing community outreach and engagement as the first step to make sure that we are listening to the community. In the last 6 years, we have been inviting many neurodiverse people, as well as people that are working in different industries that support neurodiverse population in terms of employment and education. And every month we invite someone that's knowledgeable and talk about their experience. We started in November 2017. If you're interested in joining the special interest group, please scan the QR code. And every year we have been doing this, and we have been doing this year after year, and we have not been stopping. And basically, this is our way of engaging with our community in a continuous basis. And right now, our group has more than 1,200 people in our special interest group. So please consider joining us by scanning this QR code, and then you can sign up. A larger circle of influence is by the use of the conferences. We have been running the Stanford Neurodiversity Summit for 3 years now. We started in 2020, and every year we have thousands of people coming from all over the world, including Brazil. And we have been talking about many different important topics related to the well-being of the neurodiverse community. And this year, our Stanford Neurodiversity Summit is going to be on October 1st to 3rd. So please consider putting it on your calendar. And this year, what we are going to be trying to focus on is to think about how to strengthen the neurodiverse community by working together. So with the neurodiversity awareness and education initiative, we have been creating educational experience for high schoolers as well as college students and other learners. This is one example. This is a high school camp called SMP Reach. And basically, we have been in the last 5 years been attracting people from all over the world to join us virtually. And this is from last year. We have several people, mainly they're from the United States, but we have people from Mexico, from India, from Malaysia, etc. So every in the camp, in this 2-week camp, we teach the students about neurodiversity as well as universal design for learning. This is week 1 schedule, and this week 2 schedule. We also teach them about the design thinking approach. And we also get them to do a project, a team project that can be helping with neurodiversity advocacy. And students have been very creative. And if you are interested in joining this camp as a high school student, feel free to scan this QR code and let us know about your interest. I'm going to...
Hi everyone, we're Group E of Cohort 1, and we're here.
I'm going to skip that slide to save time for our Q&A. So we also try to assess the effects of this camp by understanding the social distance in different neurodiverse conditions. And this is Rachel Shuck, who collaborated with me in this study. And what we found was that the high school students were very much able to improve their understanding of autism after the camp. And you can see whenever there are stars here, that means it is significant. So with their knowledge in autism is improved. Also, they are also more willing to be working with autistic individuals. In this camp, we have about 30% of the students who are neurodiverse in the camp. The next part that I will talk about is our neurodiversity at work study, and basically what I'll skip this slide for now. So neurodiversity at work study is really about teaching the employers as well as guiding the neurodiverse individuals to work with each other. We want both of them, both the employers and the employees, to understand how to collectively build a neurodiversity friendly environment. And we have collaborated with many companies, including Google and our own departments within Stanford University and some other smaller organizations as well. So we have a candidate registry, and if the candidates are job ready, then they will be matched with a position that they can apply for. If they are not job ready, then they will be sent to pre-employment training or internships, and then they come back to us. On the other hand, we also collaborate with companies that are running neurodiversity specialty employment programs. And if they are already having neurodiversity friendly job environments, then that's fine. If not, then they will be trained to make sure that their workplace will be more neurodiversity friendly. And we guide the employers along the way as well as the neurodiverse individuals. So on one hand, we cover all steps of support for neurodiverse individual. On the other hand, we also help with employers. And each neurodiverse individual will have two support circles. One is the workplace support circle that has the team manager, the human resource manager, the team buddy, and the neurodiverse neurodiversity at work mentor, who are supported by a coach. And the coach teach these individuals to support neurodiverse individual. And on the other hand, we have another coach that help with the neurodiverse individual. Sometimes we get a counselor or the family member to be contributing as well. And basically, the next thing that I'll explain to you is that we are using the CBPR approach, and this is really about increasing our community engagement to a point that we are going to be able to collect a lot of information from the community and using this partnership to drive research. And here's a little bit more about a new study that's to train service providers. In this case, it's mainly job coaches to improve the employment outcomes of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This work is funded by California Department of Developmental Services. And basically, the first part is to engage with the community to create a curriculum that is going to be useful for the job coaches and service providers. And also, after we have created our curriculum, we would translate to Spanish and Chinese. In phase 2, we would assess the enhanced curriculum. So basically, in the second part of the study, we would have 50 job coaches and family members and employers who will be participating in the study, and we would look at many different things, including whether or not the participants, the individuals, the neurodiverse individuals are achieving competitive integrated employment. We also have other outcome measures to monitor whether or not we are successful in doing this study. So this kind of approach is getting us to be able to have the community engagement from the very beginning to the very end. So in summary, neurodiverse individuals offer much to organizations if they are given a chance. Neurodiverse individuals have specific challenges that can be overcome. And we have developed the strength-based model of neurodiversity that incorporate the positive psychology, positive psychiatry, theory of multiple intelligence, developmental perspective of the 7 vectors of development. And we also have implemented the Stanford Neurodiversity Project by maximizing the potential of neurodiversity using the strength-based approach, and we are also using the community-based participatory approach. And the very last thing is I'd like to thank all of you for your attention and your interest. And I'd like to thank our supporters. If you are interested in contacting us, you can send us an email, Stanford Neurodiversity Project @stanford.edu. You can also scan the QR code and look at a little bit more about what our project has been doing. With this, I'm going to stop share and invite any questions that you may have.
Professor Fung, I think, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation, which indeed was interesting, inspiring, enriching, and also moving, since it helps us understand more the topics presented. Thank you very much. It's very important to have contact with researchers from other places, from other realities. So we really thank you very much for being here tonight with us. And we have some questions which were sent to me during your talk, during your speech. One of them, Professor, is the following. Here in Brazil, several schools and universities face difficulties in offering classes which cover different kinds of intelligence in the sense of Howard Gardner's theory, right, mentioned by you in the beginning. In high school, for instance, there are standardized, here in Brazil, tests for students to enter college. We call them vestibulares, right, here in Brazil. Inside universities, challenges continue, right? So the question here is, how is this specific reality in the United States? How do schools and universities cover, or at least try to cover these different kinds of intelligence in practical terms? If you have any testimonial, any kind of information concerning that, it would be interesting for us to listen.
Yeah, I think there are many educational models in around the country in the United States. A lot of the schools that are in public school, they have a curriculum that will be covering the basic aspects, just like I think any other country, on mathematics and language. For us, it will be English and usually a foreign language, and like social sciences, as well as the natural sciences, physics, chemistry, biology. So a lot of the time when people are growing up as in more affluent neighborhoods and have more educated parents and have also the resources, they would be increasing the opportunities for their children, like musical performance, for example, like learning a piano or violin. That's going to be possible. Like learning about all other things in sports is possible. And a lot of the time they are all quite treasured as skills. Like for example, in a lot of the best universities in the United States, it's definitely good to have very, very good grades. So a lot of universities would look for the evidence that you get a very good grade point average. This is called GPA. That's basically how good you are doing in school. And also some standardized exams. But in addition to that, the most difficult schools to get in usually are the schools that care also about other things, like whether or not you have, like if you are an Olympic gold medalist and you also study very well, then you're going to be able to get into very good university. So there is basically the concept of like needing to be more than book smart. So basically the schools usually will be responsible for making sure that you're book smart, but a lot of the time they don't really they don't feel like they would need to give all the other responsibilities, and they basically all of those opportunities that are extra that's not in school, that would be the responsibilities of the family a lot of the time. And I think partially also is about how the child, the teenager or the student, how much they want to pursue things that are beyond what's covered in school.
Interesting. Thank you, Professor. Well, we have another question here, which is the following. It's not common for universities, at least here in Brazil, right, to accept and support autistic people's relatives. But we know that such support is vital, it's extremely important, right? So how can institutions deal with this issue?
How can the institutions deal with the issue of, sorry, there was a few words that was cut off.
Yeah, the issue of accepting and supporting autistic people's relatives, the family, right?
They're the relatives. Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
So it is a really big issue. Definitely supporting autistic individuals is very important. When autistic people are young, a lot of the time the parents are in a lot of stress. So it is very common to see that parents of autistic individuals are very stressed because of not knowing what support they should be advocating for their children, and they have to learn a lot, and they also do not know exactly what the trajectory of their children may be, and that can be very stress provoking. So in terms of the support, I think one thing that is important is to also think about the strength-based model. So thinking about, like, for example, Albert Einstein, he actually didn't speak until 4 years old when he was in elementary school. Elementary school teachers didn't really think very highly of him. And in this day and age, if you are going to find Albert Einstein when like the equivalent of Albert Einstein at age 4, you may think, or if you are the parent of this person, you may be worried. But think about what I have shown you is that neurodiverse individuals can have their own trajectory, and they can be really, really awesome. So I think on one hand, it is important to know what support to give to neurodiverse people. On the other hand, you also have to think about there could be a very, very bright side to neurodiverse individuals' future and their trajectory. And with this positive attitude, that can reduce the stress for the parents, and also the stress for the relatives. And the other thing is also about what kind of stresses they are getting. A lot of the time, it's really about maybe the lack of understanding of autism as well as neurodiversity in general by the society. When the society is really not understanding neurodiversity, sometimes they see differences in the behaviors, and they may say some not very nice things to parents or to the relatives, and that can be very difficult. So for those that are in the society that do not have your own neurodiverse relatives or your own children, and if you are listening to this talk, I think it will be good to think about when you are seeing someone, a child or adolescent, someone that has behaviors that are unusual. Don't jump to conclusions. don't judge, and be supportive. Because what you are seeing there, when maybe a child that is struggling because of sensory differences, and the parents have no fault on what happened. And what you can do is to support this family, and really, the first thing is no judgment, and the second thing is, if you can, support, say nice things to people that are struggling.
Great. Thank you, Professor. I think it was very, very clarifying. We have a last question here, which is the following. According to some studies mentioned by the person who sent the question, 85% of the autistic population are unemployed or underemployed, right? In your point of view, Professor Fung, what are the barriers that do not allow a real change, right? Why traditional policies of inclusion do not work so well specifically for autistic people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for the question. There are many different major factors that's at play. Main thing that we can see is related to the social interaction challenges for autistic people, and this is only one half of the story. The other half is really about the employers not having a neurodiversity friendly human resource process. A lot of the time, the human resource processes in typical places do not think about the need for finding people that have the best skills. They actually use a lot of the methods that will be getting the interviewers to use very much of a kind of first impression kind of screening, which is very subjective, which has nothing to do with the candidate's abilities, but just because the interviewers do not feel like this person is easily engaged, they may think that the autistic candidate, is not interested, or there is something the person is hiding, or whatever that the person is thinking, and then they write them off. So basically, it is really about the people that are really inappropriately writing people off for really not very good reasons. And this has been done over and over and over again in many different settings. So our group is basically to try to teach employers to really get rid of all these prejudice and get rid of all of these practices, so that we are going to be more able to, in a more fair manner, to assess autistic candidates based on what they can do, and not by things that are really irrelevant.
Very well. Well, Professor, I would like to thank you again. I think all the answers given now, as well as the speech, the presentation delivered, will help many people reflect, learn, research about the topic. So it's time for us to stop now, but thank you very much again. It's very good to hear you, to listen to you. In the name of people who are here watching online, there at the university, we thank you very much.
Thank you again for inviting me. It's quite a pleasure to be with you in this hour.
Ok.
Take care.
As pessoas... Oh, thank you very much. As pessoas que estão nos assistindo, muito obrigado por acompanhar até agora. Amanhã continuamos com mais uma parte da programação do nosso simpósio. Boa noite.